So I was hoping maybe you could just share 3 things. What do you see? Like if there's people here, and let's just kind of frame it this way. Maybe they don't want to be 1% in the country or in the world, but maybe they want to be 1% in their market area, right? So what would you share with them that they have to do?
So maybe I'll say 4 things. And the first is be really lucky and fortunate. There's a phrase, I used it earlier in a meeting with someone today. Broken clocks are right twice a day, right? No matter what. At least our journey at Kaseya, a lot of it's hard work and talent, a lot of it's luck. And luck plays a part in anyone's success. It doesn't mean if you work hard, you'll be successful or vice versa, but it plays a big part, and luck is great. If we tried to do Kaseya 20 years ago, it would have failed. And if we try to do it 20 years in the future, it would fail because the timing and other factors that are out of our control. And I wouldn't put myself in the 1%, Robin. I would put the company that I'm lucky enough to run in the 1%. I definitely would not put myself there. Today I did 7 meetings with MSPs, from this group, in a conference room, just doing what we call pulse checks, just asking. And I think I would literally say all 7 of them, I could not have done what they did. No doubt. Just unique skill sets. But when I think about, I've been lucky enough where I get to talk to a lot of people like yourself, who are, as you said earlier, a badass woman. Without a doubt, one of the baddest ass businesswomen I've ever met. Had the privilege of working with. Think about the 1%. The first is sacrifice. Let's say you're an MSP in Miami, Florida, and you want to own Miami, Florida market. There's 100 I live in Miami. There's 100 MSPs competing with you. Or if you want to be the top 1% movie producer, whatever it may be, it's 1% for a reason, and it's sacrifice. You have to make the decision that is what you want the organization to be. Everyone wants to get a 4.0 in college. Everyone wants to get all A's in school. There's a reason very few do, because if you're going to get an A on every grade, not an A-, but an A, so you get a perfect report card, you're not going out to bars and restaurants, and you're not playing sports. Very, very few people have the discipline to manage their time perfectly so they can get a 4.0. So the first is commitment, and whatever it is. I think there's a lot of other things you can talk about. One of the consistent things that I see, and particularly in MSPs that are at that level, is, again, whether it's a 4-person shop or a 400-person shop, very self-aware about the right type of skill balance in the organization that goes forward. And that's counterintuitive. All of us here, everyone here, most of us here, we either run companies or we started companies or whatever it may be. It's so natural to surround ourselves with people like us. People we like, people that share the same skill sets. We have commonalities. That's part of the human condition. Part of the human condition is to be comfortable. And being comfortable doesn't only mean doing things that you're comfortable doing. It means surrounding yourself with people that have common, similar skills, interests, desires, etc. Because it's comfortable. There's benefits in that. But ultimately, no one, not Tony Robbins, not Bill Gates, not even Robin Robbins, is talented enough to be great at everything. So the 1% that I find, the team is better than all the individuals in it from an organizational perspective. And I would even argue in individual endeavors that people can do, the 1%, I don't know if you're a singer or an actor, an actress, or whatever it may be, or an athlete, the 1%, like Michael Jordan, I think we'd all agree, was a 1%er. Michael Jordan was a 1%er because when he came into the NBA, he couldn't shoot worth a shit. Michael Jordan was not a very good shooter. When he left the NBA, he had one of the best turnaround jump shots in the history of the game. So he made himself uncomfortable. He, in a business analogy, surrounded himself, took his weaknesses and made sure they were not weaknesses anymore. And I think that's a very hard lesson. I struggle with that. I'm a human being. I make decisions and sometimes I'm too comfortable. So the theme for maybe number 2 is Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because 99% of the others will be more comfortable than you will be if you are going to be in that 1%. And I think the third is you really have to enjoy it. I was having this conversation the other day with my father, who I'm lucky enough to still have around, and we were just talking about what we enjoy, what gives us joy in the limited time that we have on this earth. And if you're doing things that you don't get joy from doing, not just winning at, but doing, I don't think it's possible to consistently be among the best at whatever you're doing if you genuinely don't like it. Jim Lippy, who runs a company called SAS Alerts, he's in the channel. He's a good friend of mine, good personal friend of mine. He worked at Kaseya for a while, and now he's running SAS Alerts, which is kicking ass, and he's doing great. He and I were talking the other night. We usually talk on Sundays. We catch up on Sundays and just talk about, a scheduled time for two friends to talk because life gets busy. And we were talking about, what we like doing and all the joy and different things. And we said that it doesn't, he was talking about his company, and eventually they'll exit and they'll sell, and, we don't own it, but I would love to buy it. I know everyone says you own SAS Alerts. Hopefully one day, wherever you are, Jim, I think he's here somewhere. Please sell to me before you sell to someone else. But, Jim was like, the market's so hot right now. The recruiters are calling all the time, and I can do all these things. And I said to him, I'm like, well, what would an extra $1 million a year? $1 million a year is a lot of money for anybody. A ton of money. Jim, if they paid you an extra $1 million a year to go do something different, would you do it? And he thought, and he said, no way, I love what I'm doing. And you got to really like it. Otherwise, life sucks. And if life sucks, you're miserable. And if you're miserable, the people around you will not be able to support you. And if you're doing something where there's an organization, there's no way in hell that if you are miserable and not loving what you're doing, you can lead people to follow on the journey to be the best at what you're doing. And that's the 1%.